Good morning, St. John's. Um, I'm out here in my garage right now, and I was thinking about a passage from Matthew chapter 25. Just as you did it to the least of these, my family, you did it to me. The other day I was out here in my garage and I was working out, and I saw my next door neighbor who is Jewish, and we got into a little conversation. And we had just passed through Holy Week and Passover, and he asked me if we did our Easter services at church or whether we did something else. And I said, oh no, I said we did them online, and we're trying to join the community in flattening the curve. And he smiled. He was happy to hear that. And he mentioned the fact that he had heard that some churches were continuing to meet in person and publicly. And I said, no, we're trying to join the efforts to stop the spread of this virus. And I said, I don't see a conflict between good science and my Christian faith. And he said, I don't either. And we kept on talking, and he went on to say that their family had their first online Passover. Several of their extended family members got together on Zoom, just like we've been doing. And I mentioned that we had our first Holy Week services and Holy Thursday service where we had communion and celebrated Jesus' Passover meal with his disciples online as well. It was actually a really cool exchange between me and my neighbor. But it also really got me thinking about our witness and how people are observing the church right now during this time. We've known for weeks that the government considers certain kinds of businesses to be essential. We know that medical care workers are essential. We know that agriculture workers are considered essential, and that they need to remain functional during this COVID-19 pandemic, obviously. We know that water and power workers and communications and essential government workers are all considered to be essential. All of them. And officially, religious communities are considered essential too. Did you know that? They're essential insofar as they're providing faith services through streaming or other technology. Some of us may not realize that, but it's not considered essential that churches or other religious groups congregate in large numbers. In fact, it's considered harmful. But there are a few pastors who've argued, as my neighbor was very well aware, that it's just as essential for church congregations to meet together in person as it is for healthcare workers to be working in their hospital or for food and agriculture workers to be out in the fields. After all, the church is providing spiritual nurture, emotional support in a time of tremendous stress and loneliness and anxiety. So aren't we essential too? And it's an important argument to consider. It's interesting to look at what happened in Italy just a couple weeks ago during this pandemic. That there were several priests and congregations who ended up meeting in violation of national quarantine orders in Italy. And up and down the country, police were entering churches and they were breaking up services that were judged to be in violation of national quarantine standards, and they were issuing citations and fines to those who were taking part, and in several instances, including parish priests also. Yet, not only was there no protest from the country's Catholic leadership, but almost without exception, the bishops were siding with the authorities. They were siding with the police against their own church members. And One archbishop said, we have to be realistic. Bishop Corrado Lorefice of Palermo, he said, we have to be the first to do whatever we can to prevent this pandemic from expanding, he said. It's hard for us to think of ourselves as the church as non-essential, isn't it? And the church is essential. It's essential in that it bears witness to the essential person and work of our Lord Jesus Christ in this world. But here's the thing. The very Jesus that we serve above all others said that while being in the church is good, being the church in the world is even more important. Think about Jesus' Sermon on the Mount. He said that when you're offering your gift at the altar, he said, if you remember that your brother or your sister has something against you, you should leave your gift at the altar. You should leave the church, and you should go and find your brother or sister and be reconciled to that person. And then come and offer your gift. I wonder if Jesus today would say something like, if you're in church and you're offering your gift at the altar, and you remember that your brother or sister might be endangered by the very fact that you're in church, you should leave the church immediately, and you should go home in order to guard the health of your brother and sister. Sometimes putting God first really means putting people first. That's what Jesus seems to be saying. And again, Jesus tells us in Matthew 25 that when we care for a person who is sick or in prison or naked or a stranger, Jesus says it's like we're caring for him. And when we neglect to do those things, it's like we're shoving him aside. So in as much as you're staying safe at home, you're doing it for him. As much as you're wearing your face mask and practicing safe distancing to guard the health of your neighbor, Jesus says it's like you're doing that to guard his health. You're doing it for Jesus. So let's show that what's essential about the church is the way that we lift up Jesus, his message and his ministry of sacrificial love in these really difficult times. Because in the end, the way that we show that we're really essential is by our willingness right now to be non-essential for Jesus' sake and the good of others. That's something else to think about today. And now I need to get back to my workout.